What's going on, everyone? This is Blake at Firing Line Shooting again, and today I have been filming for you guys for hours to bring you a bunch of new stuff. Right here you see I have two P365s. This isn't just for some super fun stuff on the range. I'm actually going to be comparing two things with these P365s, and that is going to be the Zaffiri Precision and the Radian Ramjet and Afterburner combinations. So we're going to be looking at the all too famous Radian Afterburner and Ramjet, like I have on my Glock 19, but also comes on the P365. And we're also going to be looking at the Zaffiri Precision version of the same thing. And that's also going to be just a barrel and comp combo that attach to each other in a way that doesn't take up too much real estate on the end of the gun. And I want to see how well these things do in comparison with each other. So let's get started. One thing that I noticed is that this package is significantly heavier than this package. I don't know why that would be. I was actually worried that the box that I grabbed didn't have anything in it at first. This feels really light. This feels pretty heavy. We'll see if that makes a difference in the end. One other thing, we got a special partial sponsor for this video here is going to be DPM Systems. They were kind enough to send this recoil spring assembly for the P365. One thing that often happens with these small guns is that if you go to put on a comp and it doesn't have enough velocity to be able to push that slide back all the way, then you have multiple failures, stovepipes and things like that happen when this slide just doesn't have enough power to make it back. DPM Systems offers a fantastic recoil spring assembly that's going to absorb a lot of that recoil. It works very interestingly in that it has an internal spring. That internal spring is going to do what it can to slow down the velocity of that slide as it moves backwards and give you a nice soft shooting system. So not only does DPM Systems make the recoil feel so much better, but if we run into issues with stovepipes or any kind of malfunctions, we'll throw that DPM System spring in there and see if it fixes it right up. My hope is that we do have some issues and that we can use that DPM Systems spring to fix those issues, and that will encourage you guys to go out and check them out. I do use DPM Systems springs in a few of my guns, and I have been blown away by the results. If you haven't seen my other video that mentions DPM Systems in the title, go check that one out because it really does make a gun that I thought was going to be amazing from the factory that was kind of disappointing feel so much better. So please go check them out. And let's not delay any further. Let's get to installing these and shooting these guns. So real quick, before we do anything else, I do want to shoot the P365 with the regular barrel and everything in there at our little shoot and see target that we got. I want to see where this thing is impacting from a bench rested position so that we can also see how accuracy might be affected by adding these new barrel and comp combos as well. Hopefully there's no big change in those, but I do want to also just have a baseline of something to go off of. All right, the first thing that we're going to be using is Blazer 115 grain, and we are using this OEM's P365 with a flat face trigger, and let's just see where we are shooting. All right, I just took a few shots. These sights are a little bit funny. It seems like they're just a tiny bit low right. I'm a pretty good shooter. Shooting from a bench rest position is also kind of an advantage, but I feel like the bottom right trend is just kind of where the gun is with the sights. Maybe the sights line up a little bit differently than guns I'm used to shooting. Either way, I'm not too worried about it. Those things are all close to the red. Let me do a few standing and we'll see how it looks from there. Yeah, so even standing, I'm getting about the same groups. They're going to be a little bit low or to the right, a little bit of both kind of. That just tells me that's the way the sights are set up on that gun. The way that those sights line up, it does seem like it's a little bit different than what I'm used to. So let's just know where that group kind of is and move on with the new barrel and comp installs. All right, if you're not super familiar with how the Radian stuff works, you do have this tapered screw that goes into these two things. The comp is going to come off super easy like that. That's what the barrel looks like. The comp actually has that bottom chamber that redirects all those gases upwards. And when you get to install those things together, this tapered screw will just go right in there. The way that it's tapered and the way that it's sized, make sure that it's going to fit exactly the same each time. So let's go ahead and get it in. All right, so now we do have this nice, really pretty looking SIG P365 with that Radian Ramjet and Afterburner. So to me, this gun looks fantastic like this. I like how the profile of this thing kind of follows the profile of the gun. That gives it a look as if it was kind of made for it, which in reality it was, but it really looks like they were made for each other. So I'm excited to shoot this. It looks really, really good. Let's go try it out. With this Zaffiri Precision one, here's the barrel. Here's where that comp is situated in the top of that barrel. And this is gonna be our comp right here. Again, has a little cutout to redirect gases upward. That little hole that you see there is for this screw to fit in. This screw is going to go inside the bottom and it's going to twist in just like this. All right, you guys, I may have to cut this video short. One thing I noticed, you see how the screw's kind of sticking out. So I'll talk about the looks of this thing real quick, and then I'll talk about what happened. So the looks are still good. It looks nice. It doesn't look like it's kind of custom fit for the gun like the Radian one does. It just looks like it's kind of built onto the front of it, mainly because it has a straight edge and not necessarily as much contour. Whether that's necessary is debatable, but Radian sure did make that look really beautiful. Now, the reason I kind of had to stop, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to continue, is I think that something was inside of here where this screw goes into. I thought this screw just went straight into the barrel because that kind of makes sense. But what it's seeming like to me is there was something else that went right here on the bottom and kind of right inside here where you can't really see. But right inside there, it seems like there should have been something that the screw kind of goes into to hold it in front of this. I felt something hit my hand when I was showing this a second ago, and I didn't know what to think of it because I still had the screw in my hand and I still had the comp and I still had the barrel. In my opinion, there shouldn't be anything else, but since I did feel something hit my hand and this screw going in is not making this comp tight on there, that tells me that I'm missing a component. Why Zaffiri couldn't have made it just those three things and now there's an extra part to lose, I'm not sure. I've been digging around in this grass, but as you can see, it's like springtime, needs to be mowed, wildflowers everywhere. If there's a small metal component, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it. So I'm trying, but we'll see. All right, you guys, so it does not look like I'm gonna be able to find that other part of the Zaffiri Precision setup. I've got this Radian set up nicely anyways, so I might as well just go ahead and talk about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take some more test shots. I'm going to fire at that shoot and see target and see where these shots go, if they're pretty similar or if they make a difference at all. And I'm going to also just be feeling for anything I can feel as well. Got a malfunction there. So I've got a little bit of a line which has to do with the way that my sights are aligned, like figuring out where the perfect elevation of the front sight is. But you can see that everything's nice and centered. I would say that that Radian Ramjet and Afterburner combo definitely have everything more centered up than the original 365 does. Granted, again, they have that up and down motion, which just tells me that my front sight isn't in the same position every time, but it is centered between those two rear sights. All right, so what I'm going to go ahead and do here, this is going to turn into just a Radian Ramjet and Afterburner review. I have a regular P365 here and that Ramjet and Afterburner one, and I'm just going to give some side profile to see how the gun looks when we're shooting these. I'm going to be determining how it feels to shoot both of them back and forth, and you should be able to see any difference in recoil as well. So I'll go ahead and shoot 5 shots with this one first. Looks like it's already chambered. This gun is a hard gun to shoot. It is definitely wanting to jump a little bit each time. And my shots are all trending a little bit low. I don't know if that's the sights or what, but now let's go ahead and pick up this one. Already chambered that one. Man, it's night and day difference. This feels just like you're shooting like a Glock 19 or something, and this feels like you're shooting a little tiny gun that's hard to hold on to. I did do a video previously on the Zaffiri Precision one by itself, and I can tell you, maybe I noticed a difference, but it was nowhere near the difference I can feel here, and probably the difference that you can see. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to load these up again and slow motion, and we're going to see how those look together. If you want to see how the target looks, to know that I wasn't just randomly blasting, this one here is going to be the other P365. So this was my P365. This was my wife's P365. Still a decent group here, but it's all kind of low. If that was up higher, it would be fine. So with the Radian Ramjet and Afterburner, it just returned so beautifully that I just kept going back to pull the trigger again. So when I pulled the trigger, I'm sure I was going faster, so it was kind of bringing my shots down a little bit low. So both of these are trending a little bit low, but again, you can notice how centered this is, and I believe in the video you can see just how little recoil there actually was when I was shooting. So let's go back and do a slow motion one, and we'll kind of find another spot to shoot at. Right, we did this slow motion shooting, and I wasn't really going for accuracy too much, but still we were able to punch out a nice little bit of this here to see. There's a solid group either way. We went back to that initial spot. It's going to be shooting about the same. All right, so this isn't exactly science, but what I want to do is I loaded up 10 rounds in each gun, and these are Jello shots, Badlands Munitions Jello shots, if you can see that. These have a little bit of a flat, mi-plat, or meplat, however you want to say that. So sometimes those corners can get hung up, and also these blue bullets have been a little thick sometimes. So sometimes they have trouble feeding. We'll see if it works in these guns, but these are going to be a different kind of load, so I wanted to try something a little bit different. And I'm going to start at the high ready and use a timer to see how much faster the shots are, keeping them all in the A zone with the Radian. I can already tell it's going to be faster, but I'm not going to try and skew the results myself. We'll see how it goes. All right, so I had a malfunction on the last two, and it was trending a little bit right, but not horrible, I guess. That was 2.29 for 8 shots, so not a really good tell. But let's go ahead and try the other one. All right, that was 259, which I think was faster to get all 10 shots off. and everything was right there in the A zone. I didn't have those stragglers going out to the right. They were all there in the lower portion of the A zone, which is where I want to be. And it was done faster than the other 8 shots were done with the regular P365. So I wasn't planning that. I just kind of figured that that would happen. The last thing I want to do is try and play with these DPM springs a little bit and see if it can get even better. So let me mess with that some. So you can see here we have the DPM Systems soft version for the P365. This stuff is in the sun, so it's really hot, so I can't really hold all that. But that is what the recoil spring assembly looks like. There's a little part that screws on. That's right here now. But these are the 4 springs I get. So you had 2 that were, I guess, less soft shooting. Those will be the 2 on the left because they're shorter. And then you have the 2 on the right that are longer that would provide the most recoil absorption, I guess. And if you continue to read that here, S1 and S2 short high tension springs, 1.1 millimeter, and 3 and 4 are long soft tension springs, so with a slightly thinner wire diameter. So really the short ones have a thicker wire, so I really just want to try all of them and see what feels the best. Right now I've got the shortest DPM spring in there, and it has a little plug that goes right up in this area. You can notice that spring's not going through to the comp, so that plug really does capture it in the slide here and not actually going through into here. Otherwise that spring would be protruding and it probably wouldn't be good. So luckily that little cap or that plug is keeping that spring retained. So let's go ahead and try this one out. All right, here goes 5 shots with that new short spring, and let's see how well they go with the beep again. Yeah, that was nice. I feel like every single time the sights were right there back when they started. So that return to 0 was awesome. Very happy with that. Now let's go ahead and put the second one in there. So the last time was 1.88. Just for reference, I am using the same Blazer 115 brass stuff. That was 1.67, so slightly faster. Oh, it looks like I might have one that was a little bit low left on there, unfortunately. But it still felt good. All right, I've been wanting to try and use this like brown packing paper for a while. It just sticks on top of the target, and it looks like it worked well, covering all my holes. So now I've got the first long spring in there. So now that I've got the first long spring in there, we'll see if I notice a difference in the recoil impulse at all. I'm still gonna go off of time. Time to beat is 167. Don't like that. Something stuck. Huh. So I guess I got all 5 shots off, but it was in 2 seconds. Something about the way that slide reciprocated did not feel right. Let's try the longest one. One other thing about these longer springs, it takes a little bit more effort to try and push this thing all the way up in there because the spring is fighting you back longer and it's hard to keep it from twisting or something. So it's a little bit tricky to get it up into that slot, but not too bad. Right, last 5 shots. Yeah. So that was 195 and just didn't feel as intuitive. It doesn't feel like the gun is moving as smoothly and as quickly as I would like. So I don't know the science behind their shorter springs and the longer springs, but with both of those shorter springs, it felt so much more natural. It felt like every time I pulled the trigger, it was just right there. So the last thing I want to do is go put that OEM recoil spring back in and see how this last 5 rounds hits. 5 rounds on the timer. 185. So I definitely felt a little bit more recoil. So based on all of the stuff today, you definitely want to go get you a DPM system spring. Using those S1 and S2 shorter, thicker springs, that's going to give you the return that you want, the way the gun feels while you're shooting, allow you to shoot faster. You're looking for DPM Systems. They're an overseas company. I believe they're in Greece. Like I said before, I've tried multiple of their springs and they make such a difference in the way the gun feels. It's hard for me to capture exactly how much of a difference it makes on camera, but trust me, the short number 1 and number 2 springs in here are going to change their shooting experience. And not only that, but shooting the Radian Ramjet and Afterburner is going to make an insane difference in yours. I do carry this on my Glock 19. I fully trust it. And because of the difference in the recoil impulse, I would probably trust the DPM system stuff more with this, because I know that that recoil impulse is even a little bit lighter, which means that it's not going to require as much energy for that slide to make it all the way home. I think that if you're going to get the Radian Ramjet and Afterburner, you either need to put 500 to 1,000 rounds on the gun quickly. That way you can break in that spring. Or if you want to change it out for a DPM system spring set, it's going to automatically basically be broken in because it's a lighter spring system. And it's also going to just make your shooting experience more enjoyable with that dual spring, exterior and interior, working together to slow that slide down so it's not impacting as intensely when it comes back, and that you have enough velocity from the slide to reciprocate and feed that next round without any malfunctions. So highly recommend DPM Systems. I only had a couple of malfunctions today and they were on the OEM spring, using that with the Radian Ramjet and Afterburner. With my Glock 19, I do use the Radian compressor recoil spring to make sure that it's feeding as reliably as possible with that compensator. Anytime that you're adding a compensator, you have to also consider that it might not have enough force to get the slide back and reciprocate properly. So always think about what recoil spring you're using if you're changing out things like this. But I would definitely want to spend, I don't know, another couple of boxes or so of ammo with this setup, with the DPM Systems recoil spring, before I carry it. But if I do that here in the next little bit on the range and have no malfunctions, I'll probably make this one of my new carries. All right, you guys, last time, I'm sure that y'all remember, or maybe I didn't make it that big of a deal in the first video, when I was trying to install the new barrel and comp on there, there was a small piece that's like a ball bearing that went missing. At the time, I didn't even realize what happened, but later on, I realized that I was missing a piece. So I had to email Zaffiri Precision about what was going on with that, and they said that there is a small ball bearing in there that has come out and that I need to get a new ball bearing sent to me. They were kind enough to send that ball bearing out, and I'll attach some video later that shows how that works. I did also pull out an extra steel BB, which seems to be the same size. So this little ball bearing in here would be that piece, but I'll talk more about that in the later on in the video. So one thing I kind of debate is whether the Radian Ramjet system is better because it only has the barrel, the comp, and that tapered screw holding it together. Whereas with the Zaffiri Precision version, you have your barrel that slides in there with that little hole there for that ball bearing to go into. Okay, so that fits nicely in there. Your comp that goes onto that. And then your little Allen head key screw with the ball bearing inside that you tighten down onto that barrel. So is it inferior because it has that little ball bearing that is potentially lost? So after really thinking about that, I decided that I don't really think it's a big enough thing to call a con. Maybe a small con, but not something I would disregard the system for, because you don't have to unscrew that thing all the way out to make this thing on and off. So you don't necessarily have to lose that ball bearing. Without further ado, let's go ahead and try both of these systems out and see how they work. We got the current basic recoil spring in the Zaffiri Precision one, and I have the DPM Systems in the Radian one, just because that's how we ended the video last time. So I'll go ahead and test some of the Zaffiri Precision one this time and see if we run into any issues. All right, we've got 11 rounds loaded in this magazine just because it's easier to load 11 than 12. Zaffiri Precision Comp is on there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot 10 shots for group, testing Blazer 115 grain stuff, making sure that it works on this shoot and see target on the left. There we go. Take you guys for a ride. All right, all the shots on here are new. So I had one flyer up here, two flyers down here, and just about everything else is right there, almost 2 fingers wide. So not a bad group. I had a couple mistakes that's I'm sure up and downs pretty much with like lining up the sights. This one just wasn't perfectly lined up either. So generally when I had things lined up, they were right there. So that looks pretty good. Guys, at this point, I just want to run this thing faster and see, one, how the recoil feels, and two, if I have any issues running fast with it. Same thing, 115 grain Blazer. Let's go. Empty. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shoot 5 rounds out of the Zaffiri Precision one, and then 5 rounds out of the Radian Ramjet one. So honestly, the difference in there was negligible. Definitely leaning slightly towards the Radian, but that could have been the DPM that gave it the edge. So what I'll do now is I'll switch the recoil springs in these guns and make sure that it's not just the DPM Systems one that's giving it that edge. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing and shoot 5 rounds and 5 rounds back to back so I can really feel if there's a difference with the Zaffiri Precision one. All right, so shooting those back to back, I didn't feel anything different. It still felt like the Radian was a little bit better. And I don't mean to say I don't feel anything different, like the DPM Systems didn't make a difference, but it didn't make the difference to make the Zaffiri Precision recoil system or barrel and comp system different than the Radian Ramjet one. So the next thing I can do is I can try shoot them the other way. Start with the Radian Ramjet and see if I go to the Zaffiri Precision one, if it makes a difference. So far, I haven't had any malfunctions yet shooting 115 grain stuff. All right, so now I've got 10 rounds loaded in the Radian Ramjet and Afterburner gun, and I'm gonna shoot these ones and then shoot the Zaffiri Precision one. Also, I switched to the Blazer 124 grain ammo, so maybe that Blazer 124 grain ammo will feel different between the two guns. I'm gonna keep shooting at the steel. All right, relatively similar feels. I don't know if we're gonna notice a difference in the video. To me, the amount of recoil seemed like it was about the same, but we'll keep shooting. Let's go for something heavier. All right, this time I am shooting the 147 grain Jello shots from Badlands Munitions. This looks like this, a flat tip blue bullet. I have had issues with these in several guns. Seems like the coating buildup is not perfect. They're also flat plats, so sometimes that makes a difference in when it's chambering. This isn't going to test the effectiveness of the compensator per se, but it will test whether it feeds into the barrel properly or not. And also we'll be feeling the recoil between the two guns. And so I'll do the same thing with this ammo, and then I'll switch the recoil springs out again and play with that a little bit. So here goes this Radian Ramjet, and then Zaffiri Precision with the DPM Systems spring. That felt great. Yeah. Yeah, so the first gun, the Radian Ramjet, that felt amazing. It felt like I was shooting a Glock 19 or something with this premium ammo, soft shooting, heavier grain bullet. It felt a little bit more of a push versus a slap. With that one, it felt like it was just right on target every single shot. With the Zaffiri Precision one, it definitely felt like it was recoiling kind of the same as the other times. So what I'm going to do now is use the Radian Ramjet and Afterburner combo, use the OEM spring that's in there right now, and then switch that out for the DPM Systems again to really see how much of a difference that DPM spring makes. All right, here's 10 rapid fire shots with the P365 Radian Ramjet combo on steel. All right, all very good on a slightly larger than the A zone, maybe not quite a C zone target there. Felt so good. So that's with the OEM spring. Now let's try the DPM spring. And now we've got the DPM system spring in the gun and ready to go. Here we go. Not great. All right, you guys, so I don't know if the DPM system setup seemed worse, but I changed out the DPM spring to one of the heavier springs since it's a adjustable spring set, and hopefully this makes a difference. So let's go 10 shots with that one. That definitely felt better. So I think the heavier one is the one to go with this setup. Probably because it keeps the gun from beating you up. But one thing I did notice, switching back to the Zaffiri Precision one, is that comp is loose now. It moves back and forth and it moves left and right. I'll show you guys a little bit closer. That's not necessarily damning, but it's not the best sign that you could hope for. Okay, so that screw right there will need to be tightened up. After this, I'll check the Radian set and see if that's loosened up at all. All right, blind check of the Radian. Nope, that's still tight. Nothing has loosened up here. I think that's a factor of that tapered screw that they use. They have a screw in there that it's fat and then it gets really skinny. That taper is supposed to make sure that it indexes at the same point and that it stays put. And that's the result I've seen with this gun. I've never seen one loosen up. It also has these little ridges that grasp onto the side that make it hug it nice and tight. That may be part of the reason as well. So the Zaffiri one, I wouldn't necessarily write it off. It's nice and tight now. I tightened it back up. One thing that you may have to do is put like Loctite on it and torque it down to a certain spec. I haven't done that because that's what I've done with the Radian is I've just hand tighted it. So I hand tighted this one. We'll see if it comes loose again. But these little small things are kind of several reasons I'd probably get the Radian if I was looking at the two. But let's go ahead and try this again and see how the recoil is. Let's shoot this comparison in slow motion. We're comparing the Zaffiri Precision P365 with the OEM spring first and then the DPM spring in slow motion. Here we go. After shooting these things, I think you're going to easily see that no comp is the most recoil by far. I think you'll see in the last 3 slow motion videos with the Zaffiri Precision, the OEM spring is going to be decent with the Zaffiri Precision. The DPM spring is going to be slightly better, and the OEM without the Zaffiri Precision setup is going to be significantly worse. At least that's the way things felt to me. I know you can't be here to feel what I'm feeling, but the the DPM did seem like it helped a little bit, as a recoil spring will only help a little bit. But it could be just enough to make that a comfortable thing for you to carry. Let's say you hate carrying the P365 because it's small and it recoils a lot. Maybe throwing a Radian or Zaffiri Precision comp on there will make it feel a little bit better for you. And if you're still not perfectly satisfied, that DPM Systems, that technology that's in there, will make it just slightly less harsh for you and take the edge off where you feel a little bit more comfortable about carrying. At least that's what it would do for me. I think I'm going to run the Radian setup with the DPM spring in there because I know it's going to be 100% reliable and it feels good. It just feels the best to me. So everybody's going to have their own opinion. I know if you like Zaffiri Precision stuff a lot, that might upset you. So I did a review earlier on with the Zaffiri Precision comp, and I didn't give it the best feedback because it was having reliability issues. And I take that back now because the feedback that I gave about it being reliable, maybe something wasn't right that day, the gun wasn't oiled enough or something, but for whatever reason it worked today. The Radian's been working too. If I had to nitpick either one, I really don't have anything negative to say about the Radian. Every comp that they make is fantastic. Pretty much every product they make is fantastic, but with the Zaffiri Precision comp, the two things that I would note are that one, you got to keep the little ball bearing from falling out of there. Don't loosen that screw up all the way till it comes out, or you'll probably lose it. Otherwise, it doesn't fall out the top or anything, so you shouldn't lose it as long as you don't take that screw out. Also, the way that this Radian one just hugs the slide, I don't ever see that becoming loose. I've got a Glock 19 with it, and it's never come loose before. With the Zaffiri Precision one, just after a couple magazines, it already got loose. Um, it didn't loosen up afterwards, after the next magazine or two that I shot through it. Maybe I tightened it up a little bit more. Either way, there's nothing really stopping this from spinning. It's just smooth all the way around. So for that reason, along with the little ball bearing being an extra part that you're adding, and finally, um, the no lock back on one of the last ones I did. The Zaffiri Precision gun didn't lock back, and I haven't had a single time with the Radian one where it didn't lock back. And it's not an issue to me whether the gun locks back, but that just tells me that it could have a potential issue where you have like a stovepipe or something. Um, I am using 147 grain Badlands munition stuff, so it is a heavy bullet. It should be locking the slide back each time, but it didn't on that particular one. So are these things enough to say that the Radian is the only way and Zaffiri Precision is not an option? No. I think they could both be very, very viable options, especially if you put some Loctite on this screw or something to keep it from spinning, torque it to a certain spec where that ball is digging nice and tight into that barrel. I think that that's a decent option for you. If I had to pick between the two, I would personally go with the Radian, and I'm going to carry this one myself. Um, because I haven't had a single issue of reliability with it, I like the aesthetic of the way this looks as it kind of hugs that slide. It's just like everything that they do, it looks sexy. And until I have a malfunction, I'm going to continue running this. If I continue to train with this gun and have any malfunctions, I'll probably just switch back to the OEM setup without this comp on there. And I'm still keeping the little sticky holster that I had with this one originally, just in case I have to go back. But I'm going to keep running it and keep shooting it the way that it is to test reliability until I'm 100% certain that this thing is where it needs to be. So I recommend you do that with all your guns. Take this review with a grain of salt. Think about the things that I've said and make your own informed decision. I don't think anybody would judge you for having this Zaffiri Precision setup on you. They both have a nice open comp up here that is going to make that feel good. The Radian one might be hollowed out a little bit more to allow for a little bit more expansion of that gas out either direction, to keep that down. That could potentially be helping it if I'm looking at the two side by side. Let's take a look. You see the difference I'm talking about? There's way more open space in here that goes directly into the barrel than with this. That alone could be what I'm feeling and why the Radian one feels so much better. But regardless, each way you go is going to be a lot better than just running the gun stock. That thing is snappy by itself. Although you can shoot it great and keep a decent group, running it with the Radian or even the Zaffiri just feels leaps and bounds better. Make your own choice based on this review, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the upcoming video where I review the new Smith & Wesson M&P Spec V series with the blue parts and everything like that. That's going to be my next video, and I hope you look forward to seeing that. So I hope this answered a lot of your questions today. Again, thank you for watching the video. Please don't forget to like, share the video, subscribe, comment, all those things. I want to have interaction with you guys. I want to know what you guys think about what I'm doing. I love tips on how I could get better, things that you want to see that I might not have shown yet. Please let me know what you guys would like in the comments. Thank you.